Welcome back to The Heat. We are talking about the continuing fallout from the Malaysian Airlines plane crash in Ukraine last week. Joining me now is Peter Voitsekhovsky. He is Research Director for the Ukraine Foundation. Welcome to the show, sir. First of all, your reaction to the news that the Ukrainian military says two more Ukrainian jets shot down in eastern Ukraine.
That's exactly true. Two more jets, and that adds the total count of Ukrainian planes already downed by the people who call themselves rebels, but who actually are terrorists. To, I think, over 5. If you count helicopters, that'd be even more. So this is another proof that the so-called militias are actually militants directly supported by Russia. It's Russian weapons they're using, Putin's missiles.
So you basically think this is added proof that the rebels took down MH17?
It's proof of their capability, no doubt. And it's another way to show the world that there's a war going on. This war has been on there for months now, but it began to intensify as soon as the Ukrainian military learned how to fight these terrorists and began to gain decisive success. As soon as that happened in the course of June, as soon as Slavyansk was liberated, if you follow the news, that's some weeks ago, that's when Russia heavily stepped up with its military support. Now, as somebody suggested very correctly, the masks are off and Russia is sending in their military technology and their specialists without any further pretense.
Well, Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, has said no, that is not the case. And in fact, we are using our influence to try and bring dialogue. And they say that they are cooperating with the MH17 investigation. What's your response to that?
Vladimir Putin, I think, has already earned a reputation for being a very truthful and straightforward person, and I'm putting that in inverted commas, of course. So at this time, the Ukrainian government has shown tremendous amount of evidence, as well as the media has reported this evidence about Russia's involvement, Russia's support. Without Russia's support, those militants would not hold for another week. As it is now, I don't know how much longer this is going to last. They are being ousted from Ukraine, but Russia is sending more and more deadly weapons, and nobody knows what they're going to send next. In fact, we may witness more atrocious acts of terror in eastern Ukraine if that doesn't stop.
There was hope that after the election of Petro Poroshenko, the new Ukrainian president, that there would be a rapprochement with Russia and talks and some sort of stability. What went wrong, and can we get to a place where both presidents can work together?
There were hopes, and there still are hopes. I paid attention to President Obama saying yesterday that he still hopes, and in his terms, diplomatic solution remains his strong preference, which implies that if there is no diplomatic solution, more military support, and I hope would be given to Ukraine. Ukraine does need more military support.
Sorry, can I interrupt? Is there a military solution to this crisis? As it looks increasingly like a stalemate. More Ukrainian soldiers with separatists holding on to key areas where they have a lot of popular support.
Okay, the popular support on the ground is hopelessly lost for the Russian cause. Russia was hoping, in fact, it's a historical argument whether these hopes are grounded or not. Back in March, when Putin was saying, this is Novorossiya, we'll come in and these people will welcome us. Some earlier in May, it may have looked like that because there was a vacuum of power on the ground, and certain people, Russian speakers, kind of believed Putin's calls and all that. There was this so-called referendum. It wasn't a clean thing, but still, nobody argues there was a certain amount of people welcoming Russia and perhaps a better life for them. But what they are saying now is, we never wanted the war. We never wanted our homes to be destroyed. We never wanted all this blood and deaths. And so, according to every report, Putin's ratings in that area have plummeted. People are now telling these terrorists, "Go away. We didn't call you." So essentially, what happens there, what has happened there now, is a terrorist. Like you can take over an airplane and hijack. This is a hijacking of a territory from a country. The people there now feel like they are hostages. That's according to multiple reports I see all around.
Well, Russia says it wants to end this crisis. Let me just read you this. This is what Vladimir Chizov, Russia's ambassador to the European Union, said in an interview earlier this week, and I'm quoting here.
Okay.
"I can assure you that this is in the national interest of Russia to see this conflict end as soon as possible. And we never thought it would serve any interest to prolong it or exacerbate it." Do you feel that's increasingly the case or not?
It absolutely is the case. And from every rational calculus, Putin's policy there is in a dead end. By continuing these hostilities, by sending in more troops and specialists, more military, getting more people killed, and more facilities ruined, because those so-called defenders of Donbass are now blowing up bridges, railroads, pipelines. They are setting government buildings on fire where they cannot remain. So all that destruction and death, nobody wants that, and nothing is going to be accomplished by that. Maybe prolonging the status quo a little more, and maybe gaining, hopefully, for Putin some I don't know, advantages in negotiations. There'll have to be an end to this.
But Vladimir Putin's poll ratings inside Russia have never been higher. You think, though, that this is a losing situation for him long term?
I think this is his desperate attempt to keep those ratings. In fact, I just saw a headline in today's Wall Street Journal, if I'm not mistaken, saying that Putin fears the people at home more than he fears Western leaders. The worst thing for Putin to happen is to show to the people under him that he's weak. And that's what he fears most of all. That's how I see the situation.
And what about the sanctions? You know, obviously the US has imposed more sanctions, the European Union considering more, in the light of MH17 even more. Will that have an effect?
Sanctions are important, and sanctions certainly are having an effect. And certainly there's a concern among lots of people in Russia, especially those who own properties. But again, we can look, you know, Putin's been compared to Muammar Gaddafi more and more over the last few days, and we can look at what happened to Gaddafi. The sanctions against him worked fine, but it took like 10 years for them to actually make him change his mind and say, "I was sorry." So sanctions, I don't think sanctions can have a decisive overnight effect. But sanctions are good, and more sanctions are needed.
Peter Voitsekhovsky, thank you so much.